sponsor of Coastal LA, a special event hosted by We the People South Bay Coalition. And if you donated, you get one of these shirts. You help make this event possible. I'm Jimmy Gow, president of the Torrance Democratic Club. First, we want to thank, I just saw him, Pastor Joshua and the Pacific Unitarian Church for the use of this beautiful gift. And to our friend Carolyn Waters, the coordinator of the Fair Trade Bazaar. I hope you all enjoyed that prior to our event. And also with the ice raids happening in the region, we invited immigrant-related food vendors today, so I hope you all had something delicious to eat earlier. Special thanks to Rob Catherman. Rob, you here? Rob Catherman from Division 2, Director of the Water Replenishment District for the aluminum recyclable water bottle. Been out if you're here, not plastic. Oh, they've been not plastic.
Very recyclable.
Very recyclable. Also Tom Kenyon and the Torrance Dems for additional sound and audio assistance. Sharon King and the other video creators for their support. And to our We the People South Bay Coalition partners and over 24 member organizations. By the way, for video, if any of you get any good stuff that you want to share with us, we have a coalition table in the back here, and come and share it with us, and we'd love to use it to put together a nice event video. Before we begin, I have a programming note. Out of the 12 State Senate District 24 or SD 24 candidates who originally filed, we have only 6 with us here today. Nico Rudderman sends his regrets, and Brittany McKinley has suspended her campaign. And 4 were under our minimum threshold to participate. Also, before we move on, let's recognize any elected officials that are here with us today. So if you're an elected representative, federal, state, county, local, please stand up so that we can. Thank you all for being here. And speaking of applause, get it out of your system one more time. And now going forward, except for when I introduce Ben, no more applause during the forum until we ask for your applause at the very end of the forum. So that means through opening statements, Q&A, closing remarks, no applause or any other outbursts. And if you have a phone or something that makes noise right now, please turn it to silent. Let's find out who else is here with us today. Raise your hand if you are a member of the We the People South Bay Coalition or any of the partner organizations. Wonderful. Okay, raise your hand if you're a member of Pacific Unitarian and you stayed after the service. Thank you all. All right. And raise your hand if you are a vendor or came just specifically for the Fair Trade Bazaar and hung out after that for that. Thank you. And if you received an email or saw on social media this event and that's what got you here, raise your hand. Oh, good. All right. And forgive me, I'm not wearing my glasses because I'm kind of looking at my notes so I can't see you guys very well. I know you're out there. Thank you all very much. All right. In the parlance of districts, SD 24 is a community of interest called Coastal LA. It's a district running all the way from the Ventura County line. If you look out there, the Ventura County line, all the way along Santa Monica Bay, down to the Palos Verdes Peninsula. It's very similar to the federal congressional district of Representative Ted Lieu. SB 24 includes all of the South Bay's 66 Assembly District that Al Marsucci is in. It goes north of LAX to Venice and Santa Monica and Malibu, and then over to Beverly Hills and West Hollywood. It's one of 40 state Senate districts. And in California, each district is home to approximately 1 million people. We are fortunate today to have with us our special guest MC, Ben Allen. He's our state senator for the last 11 years, and he served this district both here in district and up in Sacramento, where he championed bills on everything from voting accessibility to his focus on climate change and improving the environment of coastal LA with multiple bills on eliminating plastic waste and pollution. You can pause and Unfortunately, next year Ben Allen is termed out. But the good news is that he's running to continue to serve us as California State Insurance Commissioner next year. I first met Ben Allen in 2014. He was one of 6 candidates running for state senate that the Torrance Democratic Club hosted for an event similar to this. But in those days, we met in office space that was for lease, and the property owner let us use it before it was rented. It wasn't empty, but it wasn't exactly fully furnished either. There were chairs and stuff, and the idea was for each of the candidates to have individual tables for their campaign information, like we're going to do in the meet and greet in the meditation garden in the back here today, after we finish the forum. But on that day in 2014, I thought for sure that we had 6 tables, mismatched, and some were desks and whatnot, but reasonably comparable in size. But it turns out when I got there were only 5. So the only other table I could find for one of the candidates to put their stuff and be at was the smallest little end table. It was tiny, itty bitty little end table, and the only way it was useful at all is if you sat on the floor. Sure enough, that was the table where I ended up putting my future state senator, Ben Allen. I think that after 11 years, he's almost forgiven me for that. Fortunately, Jose from Pacific Unitarian, has assured me that the tables out and back are all uniform, and today when you go back to the meet and greet in the meditation garden, you can confirm that that's true. But for the rest of the forum, please, does that say Ben Allen?
Huh? What, this?
One of the...
Izzy's got it.
Yeah.
No.
Go Izzy! Is this one you need? Absolutely right.
No. No, that's... I'm missing the clipboard. Yeah, I know, but if I don't find this, it's not
I
going to be
know,
good.
it's not easy. What are you looking
All right, well, let me use this one, and I'll see if I can find the correct one. All right, well, I need to at least leave this for now. So without further ado, Without further ado, everyone, our state senator and MC for the day, Ben Allen. Applause.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Wonderful to see everybody here, and it really does. I've got a little bit of both excitement and trepidation and some PTSD. I see all of you sitting up here as part of this new process where we bring all of our candidates up to debate and discuss. I remember actually being with a former speaker of the assembly at an event in my district a few years ago, and I was talking to him about the event. There were lots of people there, and we started chatting, and I'd asked him, well, how many debates did you have when you were first running for this position? And he had gone to 0 debates. I probably had 20 or something, up and down the district through the course of the campaign. We have a very engaged and active community. This, as was mentioned, it goes from the PV Peninsula all the way up to Alegria and Calabasas, all the way east to Universal Studios. Includes communities like Beverly Hills and Hollywood, West Hollywood, Santa Monica, the beach cities, Lomita, the Santa Monica Mountains communities, lots and lots of the city of Los Angeles. So it's a wild and very engaged district. And it's been such an honor to represent this district and to get to know so many of you and work so closely with you over, but I can't believe it's already been 12 years. So time certainly flies, and it's been an honor and a great experience for me. And I do want to point out our wonderful, the leader of our whole operation here in Los Angeles, who so many of you know, who's my campaign manager, and he's worked so hard with us ever since Sam Liu. So I am excited today to have the chance to put these wonderful folks on the hot seat and ask them some tough questions. We've got some wonderful. All right, we don't need more liability. All right, there we are. You made it safe. We've got some wonderful folks that are going to be asking questions of our candidates, but it's really hard to run for office. It takes a ton of time, mental anguish. You have to call all of your friends and ask them for money. It's a wonderful but kind of scary process. And let me just start by saying thank you to this extraordinary group of people who have stepped up from all different corners of this district, all of whom bring significant credentials and professional experience that you're going to learn about through the course of the afternoon. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for stepping up and being a part of this process. So we're going to start, let's get started. We're going to start with opening statements, and then we're going to have a Q&A from the folks at the We the People South Bay Coalition. I may do a little bit of follow-up if people are being too evasive, because, I wish I could have been a journalist, but I ended up in politics instead, so maybe one day I'll go back to honest living. Let's get started with our wonderful candidates, and then, as was mentioned, after we're all done, we'll all be hanging out at the meet and greet in the garden, and so we'll have a chance to talk to everybody through the course of the rest of the afternoon. So with that, we're going to start to my immediate left, Brian Goldsmith. You have 2 minutes.
Does this work? Wow. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for your 11 plus years of service to our community. You have set a very high standard for all of us to follow, particularly with respect to protecting our coastal communities, the climate of this district, our environment, our air and water. So thank you for your service to our state and this district. And thanks to everybody here for showing up on a gorgeous Sunday afternoon to listen to some state legislative candidates. I'm Brian Goldsmith, as was mentioned, and I'm running because I honestly believe we're at a generational inflection point in California. Trump has weaponized the federal government against us, specifically to hurt our state. We're going to have a new governor. We're going to have a lot of new legislators. We're going to have a historic budget mess. And we have festering problems that the next state senator from this community is going to have to solve, or at least play a constructive role in solving. I never thought I'd run for office. I was a journalist for a long time. I worked at places like The Atlantic and CNN and CBS News, where I was the political producer back when people watched the evening news. Was Katie Couric's producer. And it was really Trump's first term that motivated me to step away from covering politics to become an advocate and to fight for good Democratic candidates and causes across the country, and to defeat a few Republicans across the country, which I particularly enjoy doing. I didn't think I was going to run, but it's the combination of Trump's election, the disastrous wildfires in this district, and California, and I will talk about more of this later, but thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much. Next we have Mike Newhouse.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate you doing this. It's great to see you here. You've done such a wonderful job. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Newhouse. Thanks for having us today. Joshua, thanks for hosting. It's wonderful to see all of you. There he is over there, all of you beautiful faces. And I want to thank my fellow candidates. You're not supposed to say this, but I got to be honest with you, you don't really have a bad choice up here. I respectfully think I'm not the best choice, but it's not me. All these folks are really, really great. Look, I'm a small business owner. I live in Venice, middle of the district. I've been married to my lovely wife, Ruth, for 24 years. Two wonderful sons, Holden and Dylan, freshman in high school and senior in high school. And they're the apple of my eye, and they're really, quite frankly, the reason why I'm running. It's become a state in a lot of ways that our children are going to have trouble affording, and that a lot of us are going to have trouble affording and retiring and staying in. I'm a small business owner. I own a small law firm of 8 attorneys, and I take a lot of pride in being a business owner and signing the front of a paycheck. I also own a small real estate brokerage, and I think we just have to do a better job across the state in terms of making it easier to start a business and to keep a business going. Number 2, my entire background is in environmental science and environmental law. I have been an environmental lawyer for the last 25 years. I very much want to follow in Ben's footsteps in terms of being a wonderful steward of our coast, of our water, of our air, and promoting, obviously, rectifying the climate change errors that we made over the last 100 years. It's going to be a big part of my focus. I also think public safety is very important. We want to make sure we're safe in our neighborhoods, and I'm very proud that I've been endorsed by PORAC, which is the largest law enforcement association in the state of California. 950 law enforcement associations and 87,000 police officers. I take that very seriously as well. And the last thing is that in my law practice, I represent a lot of folks who build a lot of housing and a lot of affordable housing. And I think that's really the key to our affordability issue. It's very important where we build, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think that's one of the biggest solutions to our woes. It's one of my experience levels, and I'm really excited to bring that to the district. Thank you.
Next we go to Dr. Shai Roy.
Thank you, Ben. Long way from Jay Johnson's house 15 years ago when we were serving on the Santa Monica Dem Club exec committee together. Thank you, Ben, for your service. Thank you to the rest of the candidates for running for this office that's so important to this coastal community. My name is Shai Roy. I'm a cardiologist at Harbor UCLA. In other parts of the district, I have to sort of talk about what Harbor UCLA does, but I know that you know that it's a big public hospital that's just down the street here, serves South LA, mostly a Medi-Cal population. I'm a former president of the LA County Medical Association, former Dem Club president, so I really, at Santa Monica Dem Club, and so I really appreciate you guys putting this together because I know how much work that goes into this. I also serve as vice chair, actually chair now of the Santa Monica College Board of Trustees. And I think that the biggest leadership experience that I've had is PTA president for my son's elementary school. That was a leadership, that was the most challenging year of leadership that I've ever had, but also the most rewarding, as you can imagine. Biggest reason I'm running is Medi-Cal. We're losing 2 physicians in the assembly this year, leaving just 1 physician in the Senate, and the healthcare system in our country, in our state, and in our county was already in crisis and is getting gutted both by the federal government and the state government budgetarily. And that is going to increase cost for all Californians, and particularly here in the county. And it's going to lead to worse access to care, not just for Medi-Cal recipients, but for everybody in our district. And the second reason I'm running is we lost our home in the Palisades fire. And my wife's a physician at UCLA. I have an 8-year-old, and I hope to bring the voice of our rebuilding community up to Sacramento as we work on issues of fire mitigation, affordably rebuilding our homes, and insurance stabilization. So thank you, and hope to talk a little bit more over the course of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Next, Ellen Evans.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Evans. I've been fighting for what's right my whole life, and I don't take no for an answer when the answer should be yes. I'm running because California is worth fighting for, and because you deserve leaders who unite Democrats across ideologies and deliver real results. I came out at the dawn of the AIDS crisis, and when people were dying and our president wouldn't even say the word AIDS, I plunked myself down in the street in front of the White House and got arrested so our voices would be heard. I fought against Prop 8 and for marriage equality, and when my wife and I had kids and I didn't know how the world was going to treat children with 2 moms, I stayed at home so that they felt safe and supported, and now they're thriving adults. I know not every family has that option, but every family deserves to have their children feel safe, supported, and loved. For the past decade, I've been fighting for my neighborhood, thousands of people, keeping people safe, solving everyday problems, and influencing policy in a city that really didn't want to hear from me. And I delivered results because I listen, because I bring people together, and because I get things done. And the stakes couldn't be higher today. Families are hurting. The federal government is going after food and healthcare, basic necessities. Prices have risen, and we're all feeling the squeeze. Immigrants can't leave the house without worrying that the trip will end in being kidnapped by ICE. And while we're dealing with all of this, Donald Trump is blowing up our national economy and shredding our tax base. We need leaders who won't back down. And I have concrete plans to meet this moment and the experience to turn them into action. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we're next going to go to John Erickson.
Hi everyone, and Ben, always great to see you. I remember the first party after you won the Chamber of Commerce event. Apologies to everyone that might still hear Halloween from West Hollywood down to the reverberations all the way through here, because it's such a beautiful day. But I'm Councilmember John Erickson from the city of West Hollywood, where I served as mayor last year. And I'm running because I want to make sure California is affordable for us all, and that we have the ability to breathe clean air, make sure we're building enough housing, expand our transportation networks, fight for our labor brothers and sisters, and as well as expand and not be afraid of the Trump administration, because if California does one thing best, it's showing up when we need to the most. As an LGBTQ member of the community who was hate crimed when I was in college for being the first openly gay athlete at my college, I understand the threats that LGBTQ people, but all people are facing right now. Because when I look to my communities, whether that be our LGBTQ community, our women's community, where I previously served as the vice president for Planned Parenthood the last 8 years, to now my new day job as the chief of staff for a Latino immigration-based organization, making sure families have subsidized income because one of their families or both parents are not able to go out anymore because of fear of ICE. We need skilled, courageous, and bold leaders in the Senate right now. But we need people who have done this. And for the last 6 years in the city of West Hollywood, I've expanded policies from environmental protections, built housing, built affordable housing, expanded our social services, and raised the minimum wage for all workers, because we all know that we're all not making enough. And when we all said, and when businesses said that they were going to be driven out of our communities like they're threatening to do in California, West Hollywood, when I was mayor, had a $31 million budget surplus. This type of skilled policy research is the type of work that we need to do up in Sacramento with our budgetary concerns. And I bring that leadership, that knowledge, and that coalition being endorsed by people like Supervisors Lindsay Horvath, Janice Hahn, the California Teachers Association, the California Federation of Teachers, and more. And first of all, I'm looking forward to talking to all of you today.
Finally, Eric Alegria.
Thank you so much. Good, what a great afternoon for democracy today, so thank you to all our organizers particularly, and welcome and thanks to all of you. Your presence certainly indicates the importance of the conversation in front of us today. I'm Eric Alegria. I was once a collegiate runner, and I can tell you that a good race always starts with a fair starting line. And at this point in California's history, that starting line has just moved and has been disrupted. I'm running to remove obstacles to ensure that there's a fair starting line for all. Many of you know me from my work here. My background is I was, as a young man, I worked with farm workers across Washington State. That experience ultimately led me to leading a nonprofit program to support some of those same farm workers. And that spirit of hard work plus opportunity has led me in my life to lead nonprofits, companies, to be a California Film Commissioner, to be a Chief Operating Officer for a public health organization that's supporting some of our most vulnerable populations today. You know me from the work that we've done together in this community as a school board member, in the South Bay in general for the last 17 years, and we've moved things in a positive way. We've progressed. The environment's been improved, public safety's been improved, but there is so much in front of us. Healthcare affordability and access is a challenge. Public education pressures continue to mount. Climate change is in front of us with landslides and fires. Mental health crisis is upon us, and there needs to be a great response. As a father of four, I refuse to pass the buck, and I refuse to miss the opportunity to address some of these issues. I'm looking forward to the discussion today and the discussion after as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, again, a fantastic range of perspectives. Everyone here at the dais brings a lot of great experience. And, so we're going to now, so these were 2-minute opening statements. We're now going to have to be brief, 1-minute answers to actually some very complicated questions. It's one of the reasons why I hate debates is because they always force you to distill things when actually these issues take a lot more than a minute. But unfortunately, we don't have time. So what we'll do is we'll start this round of questions with Brian. Then the next question we'll start with Mike. Then the next time we'll start with Shai and just go around in a circle. But our first question, it has to do with housing and local control and development and standards, and it's from Kenny Johnson.
Hello.
And just real quick, keep for the Kennys, keep an eye on the timekeepers here that are policemen.
Good afternoon. Okay. My name's Kenny Johnson, and I'm with the We the People South Bay Coalition. We've called this event the Future of Coastal LA, and many coastal cities will often cite local control when limiting rezoning, parking changes for affordable and supportive housing. My question for each of you is, when local decisions conflict with the regional housing needs, how should the state set standards or step in to ensure that affordable housing still gets built?
Well, thanks for the great question. We need to figure out a path to end the housing wars in Southern California. I opposed SB 79 because I thought it was a one-size-fits-all Sacramento solution to a very complicated problem. At the same time, we need to build a lot more housing. And we need to get to a place where 3 things happen. Number 1, we reform the RHNA process so that the numbers are reasonable and doable for every community. 2, we shift to county-wide housing goals, not city by city, because there are some communities that have a lot more capacity than others. And 3, as long as the debate is about how and where to build, not whether to build, we need to pass more power closer to the people, to local elected representatives, and not accept this sort of one-size-fits-all Sacramento solution. My point as a state legislator will be to get things done for you, not to be performative, but to be constructive, to build a coalition and to move us forward on housing so that we can be more affordable.
Okay, thanks, Kenny. It's a bit of a continuation on our conversation outside. This is what I do. I represent builders of housing at all levels, a lot of affordable housing units, and I served on the LA City Planning Commission for the better part of the last 7 or 8 years. Our RHNA goals are imbalanced right now. We have to work on that. We have to decide where to build, not if to build. I think Brian said that very, very accurately. What we have to look at is doing things like adaptively reusing the buildings that we already have. We're not tearing down buildings, we're not using new resources, thank you. And we now have a citywide adaptive reuse ordinance, which I was very instrumental in making happen in Los Angeles. I want to bring that to Sacramento. Urban infill is obviously also very important as well. Putting it where we already have buildings of this size and filling lots that are already there instead of going into single family communities. Last of all, what we need to do is not just look at rental housing, we gotta focus on the California dream of giving people ownership. What I'd like to do is a version of a state density bonus in Sacramento that gives you a density bonus if you designate some of the units for sale, and these would be small micro units at a small price.
Thank you. So I also, like Mike and Brian, I oppose SB 79. And the reason being is it is hard to legislate housing in this district from Sacramento. Think about the different geographies here. The Santa Monica Mountains where the fire threat is huge. South Bay where also there's fire threat and landslides. Then you go more eastward into the district into places like Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Hollywood, where there's a lot larger amount of renters and the density is higher. It's hard to legislate that from Sacramento, so I do believe in local control. I have been a big proponent of housing in Santa Monica, particularly workforce housing. And so, nobody at Santa Monica College, for example, can live near where they work. A lot of them commute up from the South Bay. And so targeted workforce housing, private public partnerships, those are the types of housings that I will absolutely champion when I'm in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. So I also, let's correct the microphone. I also support local control because local officials are the ones who know their communities best, who know where the jobs are, who know where the land is, who know what the transportation is. And I agree that I think we need to change how arena numbers are distributed and maybe allow trading or just look at that whole system. But there are other ways that we can encourage more building, and particularly more affordable housing building. We used to have redevelopment agencies which created thousands of new affordable units every year, and which put together parcels of underutilized commercial and industrial space for larger products. We need to do something like that. Also, our affordable housing financing system is a mess. There are multiple programs in multiple parts of government with different timelines and different applications, and we need to consolidate that so it's easier to build affordable housing, and we don't need to take away local control. Thank you.
The issue that we see in places like West Hollywood or with other cities is that cities are passing the buck and we're not building enough housing. When it costs more to build an affordable housing unit than it does a parking space, we have a serious issue on priorities. And when we really need to look at not only understanding where our arena numbers are coming from, but further understanding that economic development when it comes to housing actually enriches our cities. A lot of cities are facing serious budgetary shortfalls because they're saying no to housing or economic development that boom brings to it. And also, it is a tried, true, and tested statement that local cities always wanted housing along commercial corridors, and now especially along rich transit corridors. And if we're throwing that out with the bathwater, then where do we want housing? There was a fight over infill housing, and there was a fight over building affordable housing within certain neighborhoods because people didn't want those individuals in those communities. I'm a renter. I understand that this buck is being passed on to the next generation. I'm an aggressive pro-housing individual, but I also believe that listening to local cities, we can do it right through smart urban planning.
Thank you for this question, and smiling at us and around. We have many good discussions about this. Obviously, 1 minute's not sufficient, but I look at my colleagues across the room, Mayor Paul Seo, Councilmember Samshi. We've all been dealing with this in over 2 cycles on the City Council. I sat at the dais and had difficult discussions about how you do this and do this right. The pendulum has swung, and I do think the one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. There are opportunities, though, to make building more efficient and easier, and I think Sacramento can play an important role in setting up that proper framework. But simultaneously, I think there's opportunities to create incentives such as the South Bay Housing Trust and other tools, existing infrastructure, looking at our short-term rental capacity and supply. How do we do this in a thoughtful way and without impacting single-family residents? We fought against builders' remedy in this community. You can imagine what the outcome would be when you have 6 to 10 to 15-story buildings in conjunction with single-family homes. It just doesn't work.
Thank you for those very thoughtful answers in a very short time. And and as was mentioned, Eric mentioned that, of course, in addition to the Senate race, we have a very intense race shaping up on the Assembly side. And Scott Houston is here, he's running. Paul Seo is here somewhere. Well, there he is, yeah, Paul's here. Sorry, Dean, I'm not sure. If we have any other candidates who are here from the race. Anyway, make sure to say hi to them too. As this assembly race shapes up as well. I think there may be some future forum coming up for that race. Anyhow, thank you for the very thoughtful answers. We're now going to go on to a question about workers' rights, labor issues, and that question will be from Connie Kohler from Indivisible South Bay.
Good afternoon. Some cities have fair scheduling rules and predictable pay, but many workers still face unstable schedules or retaliation when speaking up. Think the Starbucks union movement right now. What state policy would you support to expand job stability and protect workers across California? Thank you.
And we'll start with Mike.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Look, again, as a we good? This might be on my end. Let me turn this one off and see how this works. Let me just turn that off. May I try that one out? Is this a little bit better? Yeah, way better. Okay, very good. I appreciate the question. Again, as a business owner who employs people, I take it very seriously about people having good jobs and good paying jobs. Look, we have to deal with this two ways. First of all is making sure that we're always protecting workers' rights. That's obvious always, and protecting the right for people to unionize in all sectors. There are a lot of sectors where people are not allowed to unionize, and we need to be able to let people have the right to do that. Having said that, the number one way we can create good paying jobs in this state is to enable people to start small businesses and to maintain those small businesses. Small businesses make up 99% of the state, and they employ 45% of the people. Again, I've owned a business for about 20 years, 2 businesses actually, and I've talked to a lot of you out front who own businesses. It is way too difficult to employ people under the rules we have in this state, and all it does is it creates 0 jobs at $0. We have to be really focused on how do you create a small business and how do you create a job for people. And that'll be one of my focuses in Sacramento.
Thank you. Unionization. I'm a proud union member. I'm a employee of LA County, and my union is UAPD AFSCME. I represent my union at the LA Labor Fed, and unionization is the key to protecting workers' rights. There's not one entity in this country that advocates for workers better than unions do. And so expanding the number of unions and the ability for workers to unionize, I think, is the key in the state of California. And then, you talked about Starbucks and Amazon, and they, the intimidating tactics that they use to prevent workers from organizing. Really trying to make sure that gets out into the public eye and that people know what they're supporting when they go to those companies if they do that.
Having been a union member myself, I know that Shai is right. It's really important for us to protect people's jobs, protect their right to organize. There need to be serious consequences when corporations or governments interfere with that right. And we have to protect people from wage theft, because I know that happens too. I want to fire up the economic engine in California by training workers for the jobs we need. We are short many construction workers, we're short electricians, we're short on green energy jobs. Nurses are getting older and retiring, and teachers are getting older and retiring, and we need to keep training people so that we can have the economy we want to have. And that's, I think, how we're going to have great jobs. Thanks very much.
I was a former union president and an AFSCME member, just like Shai was, and this is why individuals like Unite Here Local 11, National Union of Healthcare Workers, including the teachers, as well as many other labor unions, were supporting me. I plan on mandating these things and implementing strict fine schedules if we find out corporations that are giving money back to their CEOs and not to the actual people are abusing these systems, which we know they are doing hand over fist. Right now, we see flying foods groups over at LAX completely dismantling how the schedule-based system is actually happening to workers. Workers are all of a sudden finding out that they have a completely different schedule the next day or with little notice. And mostly these are communities of color, people that do not speak English or have English as their predominantly first language. And that's an intentional tactic. We need labor champions up in Sacramento who are going to say to major corporations, over my dead body, will you make sure that the strongest thing in America, the middle class, building up the labor movement, are going to be continue to be abused by people who make billions of dollars every year off of your profits.
Thank you so much for the question, and this is an important question, of course, for our future. And as a business owner myself, small, modest business of 12 employees, trying to figure out the right balance, especially in the economy that we have today. So many more part-time workers, so much more flexibility in schedule, so many more contracted employees. There is abuse, and there are bad actors, and there need to be tools in place to make sure to strike the right balance to ensure consistency, especially when it comes to ensuring fair wages and making sure that there's thoughtful benefits. I was proud as a city council member in the city of Rancho Palos Verdes to support what ended up becoming our part-time employee union formation, and then negotiating with that union thereafter. Many of them Parks and Rec staff across the hill. It's important that we promote that and also strike the right balance between ensuring that labor and business community are talking in a way that's coherent and is producing jobs for the future. Thank you.
When I graduated from law school, instead of joining a big firm, I launched a startup in Silicon Valley. And I know how challenging it is to get a small business off the ground, particularly in California. We make it way too challenging, way too expensive. So we need to do two things at the same time to grow jobs and opportunity and grow wealth for regular people here in California. Number one, we've got to make this an environment that is more conducive to small business and for high-wage, high-skilled jobs to be created here, for companies to expand here, to hire more people, and to pay them better. But at the same time, we've got to vigorously defend labor rights. We've got to expand unionization. If we're going to have a rule or a law on the books, we've got to vigorously enforce it. I'm honored to be supported in this race by the Teamsters, by ILWU, by other labor groups, because I think this is a false choice between championing small business and championing workers and labor rights. We can do both.
All right, our next question is on education topics. We're going to go to Tim Dixon from the Palos Verdes Democrats.
Good afternoon. I'm Tim Dixon. I'm the president of Palos Verdes Democrats, and we have several of our members and board members here today, and we want to welcome you to the beautiful Palos Verdes Peninsula, which is a blue peninsula. The question that we advance today is, given that the current Trump administration is dismantling the Department of Education, threatening funding for the UC system, and the quality of our public primary education is a concern, what are your thoughts about how you would address these educational issues?
Thank you for that question. And, it's personal to me as a community college trustee and, a son who is in elementary school and will be going through this education system, the public education system in our district for the next, 9 years. And I think number one is when there are cuts from the federal government, we have to be able to look to backfill those cuts so that we can keep the services that we have intact. Because we all know that when those cuts come from the federal government, there is an inequitable, the results are inequitable. Our poorest districts like LAUSD, which serves a number of our constituents, a good number of our constituents of the district, is going to get hit more than at Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District, where PTAs and those types of organizations can cover that ground. And so the biggest thing I think with those cuts coming in those threats is finding ways to backfill that funding in a difficult state budget. But I think that that's critically important, not just in education, but other safety net programs like Medi-Cal, mental health, those kinds of things as well. Sorry.
Education is a bridge to the middle class. It's so important. And every dollar spent on education is a dollar well spent. Our education system, particularly community colleges and Cal States, it's underfunded and understaffed, and we need to do something about it, even in this difficult budget year. And so I think we need to look for new revenue sources. And so I'll be moving forward with my campaign with an abundance of ideas for revenue sources. For example, we could have a state bank. North Dakota's had a state bank for almost 100 years. We could capture all those processing fees for state taxes and reap billions of dollars. We can pour that into the education system, and we need to close the loopholes that corporations use to avoid paying taxes at all in this state. And doing that will be able to bolster our education system. Thank you.
It's more than just an eradication of dollars. It's an eradication of the California dream and what our education brings to individuals. They're not only just destroying our dollars, but they're saying you shouldn't be teaching anything that doesn't conform with these standards that don't include reproductive health, our LGBTQ history, our Black history. We're going to literally have red states and blue states that are teaching different curriculums. And so we're going to have to create a Department of Education in a way that our California Department of Education takes on a federal sense. But also, remember, we're balancing our budgets on the backs of workers right now. LAUSD gave a brand new contract to their superintendent while their workers are literally asking for 25, 50 cents, or just in general healthcare. That's a statement of priorities. And frankly, as a state, we need to look at revenue sources that include taxing those rich individuals who are funding the dismantling of our Department of Education system and holding them accountable. And until we do that, it's a political problem, and we have to solve it.
Thank you. Very important question, Tim. Thank you for posing it. I think I'm going to interpret a little bit two ways real quick in my minute. One is to say that there are certainly aspects to civil rights protections inherent in those cuts. And locally, as many of you know who know me, I ran primarily for that reason to ensure that our board was protected with an idea of inclusivity for all of our kids. My PhD research focus has been on public education finance as inspired by the local control funding formula that analyzed a couple of key states across all of the United States to figure out money matters, but what else? We invest $90 billion plus in our public education system. That investment is a reflection of our priority. We need to continue that investment. And we need to make sure that we're efficient in our spend in addition to the revenue ideas that were suggested a moment ago. There is an opportunity for us to be thoughtful about our programming and ensure that each dollar is as effective and efficient as possible in public education as well. Thank you.
We're in an,
Does this work?
yeah, I think so. We're in an unprecedented situation. We've never before had a president of the United States who gets up every morning looking to hurt the state of California. And so we need to use every tool in the toolbox, litigation, legislation, even persuasion at times, to try to reverse these radical and dangerous cuts, to try to stop the damage that he's doing to our state. At the same time, we've got to set clear priorities because the state is really in the driver's seat when it comes to K-12, as well as one of the crown jewels of our state, our public university system. We've got to make sure every kid can read by 3rd grade because the evidence is overwhelming. If they can't, it's very hard for them to catch up. We've got to deal with this absenteeism crisis that began during COVID that we've never really gotten over. We've got to make sure every kid in public school feels safe and protected, whether they're Jewish, whether they're AAPI, whether they're Black, whether they're the child of an immigrant. Every student deserves to feel safe. I'm the father of 2 young kids, so this issue is personal to me.
Look, I teach law school at USC. I teach intellectual property. So as an educator, I can tell you this is really a two-pronged question. One is curriculum, one is funding. Talk about curriculum first. What we really have to do is make sure we're still teaching vocational arts and we're still having vocational training in our high schools. I'm the kid who, my grandfather was a union carpenter, taught me his trade till he passed away. I was a shop kid throughout high school, and I got myself through college at USC by working as a carpenter. That was something I learned mostly in school for free at a public school. We have to focus on that very heavily. In terms of funding, I think we have to do 2 things. First of all, I think we have to look seriously at the 2-year budget cycle. In California, you look at the 7 other states in the nation that have a 2-year budget cycle, they all have the same bond rating or higher than California does. It allows us the flexibility to absorb some of that. Number 2 is a funding source, and I've shared this thought with Ben. We'll see if I can get him on board. But is the state going into the insurance business more so than just the FAIR Plan? It is the most lucrative business on earth. There is a lot of coverage that is not provided, and it could be a huge new source of revenue, and I want to look at that really closely.
We're saying that right now, actually, so we should talk about that. Let me just take a quick moment. I noticed another regional candidate has walked in the room. Sam Succotan is running for Board of Equalization. So nice to see you, Sam. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We're going to have a little meet and greet afterwards, and folks will be able to hang out and say hello. Well, thank you for those very thoughtful answers. Let's now go to someone with a very presidential name, Chris Truman, with the Beach Cities Democrats, who's here to ask a question about a topic that has dominated much of our work over the last year, wildfires.
I am technically related to,
Oh, very cool.
yeah, good president. It's nice to meet everybody. Hi, candidates. I'm Christopher Truman from Beach Cities Democrats. As our region continues to recover from the Palisades fire, I'm very interested in your perspective on how the state can better support wildlife recovery and prevention. We face similar risks in PV, obviously, so this is a great place, I think, to talk about it. What do you think the legislature could be doing differently to ensure something like this doesn't happen again, particularly when it comes to proactive mitigation, resilience investments, and the related crisis of insurance affordability?
We're starting with Alan.
So I live in a very high fire hazard severity zone. And on January 7th, when the Palisades fire broke out, there were actually 2 fires in my neighborhood. A transformer blew up, and old wires sparked another fire. We have among the worst grids in the country, and we know also that when we leave unused transmission lines out in the field, they start fires. So number 1, I want to make sure that we are modernizing our electrical system and that we are financing that modernization not through rate increases because we're already paying enough, but through a bond measure or another less progressive, more progressive scheme. So that would be first. And second, I think we really need to work on our evacuation planning and making sure that every community in a very high fire hazard severity zone knows how to get out and who will get out and who will not. Thank you.
This is something that residents of the Palisades are still dealing with, whereas they're barely even getting their permits issued right now, and the governor has refused to take action in declaring what he could actually do to help them rebuild faster. So we need to actually make sure that the legislature is doing everything within our power to do so. Evacuation route planning is critical. In West Hollywood, when I was still mayor, we had the Grand Canyon fire, and it was chaos because the central system sent out a notification telling everyone in West Hollywood to evacuate, but that was wrong, and so that actually caused quite a bit of panic and more people on the roads when they didn't have to be. And so we have to centralize those systems and really work to update a lot of this technology, which hasn't been touched since before I was born. And that is saying something, right? Because that's saying that they're putting your lives at risk. We need to work on home hardening, we need to work on our insurance market, all things that we can do, because right now our insurance, hopefully we have a new insurance commissioner who has direct experience with this type of work, but frankly we need to listen to all of you, because what I'm hearing is that the legislature and others aren't listening to you all on what we need to do. We need to make that comprehensive community plan first.
Certainly an issue very familiar to me as a 2-term city council member in Palos Verdes, and it's much of that time I got to work very closely with all 4 cities and form our very first public safety peninsula-wide committee that invested big in more coordination across the whole community to preserve fire remediation from low-tech stuff such as the goats to the high-tech stuff such as artificial intelligence cameras we installed throughout the peninsula to cover the whole view of the peninsula. So fire remediation is critical, fire management is critical as well. The partnership we have with the local land conservancy needs to be translated to the more complex area, of course, of the Palisades in terms of how we're ensuring remediation that is done often and effective. Big compliment to Ben and Sam, given all the work you've done, particularly in recent months, to address some of the more development-related issues. That effort certainly needs to continue. This is an important issue. As it relates to insurance, we did a lot in Palos Verdes to show insurance companies that we were home hardening and cooperating and we want to make sure insurance companies are held accountable, keep their risk pools open when we do that. Thank you.
Eric's point about home hardening and about updating our technology, those points are exactly right. We need a state, county, local playbook of best practices so that when this happens again, not if, but when, we know what we can do to help prevent these catastrophes and what we can do in the immediate aftermath to limit the damage. And that, by the way, has to include public health as well as our buildings, our homes and businesses. Because I am deeply concerned that we're failing to learn the lesson after 9/11, when more people died in the aftermath of 9/11 than on 9/11 because we didn't protect the soil, the air, the toxins that people were ingesting. The firefighters have the right idea. They're going to the voters with a proposal to modernize our firefighting infrastructure. We have underinvested in fire engines, in first responders, in everything we need to deal with these realities for 2 generations, and it is our responsibility to step up and invest.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Chris. Obviously, I represent a lot of folks who build housing, and a builder myself, and I'll tell you, look, folks in the Palisades, I want to do everything I can to expedite them getting back in their homes and rebuilding their homes as quickly as possible. Having said all that, new construction in high fire severity zones has to stop. If we keep encroaching into places where we probably shouldn't have been in the first place, we're going to have these problems. Again, I could not more support families getting back in their homes, but we have to make sure we're not doing that going forward. Number 2, fair plan limits. This is something that touches on the issue Ben and I have talked about, but the limits are just too low. We have to find those revenue sources to actually give you protection that you need. I'm on the fair plan, and it is not what we need, and it is extremely way too expensive, I can promise you that. The last thing is infrastructure. I'm proud to be endorsed by IBEW Local 47. One of the reasons why is because we share a vision for infrastructure, electricity infrastructure of the future, and making sure it's safe and less prone to fire.
Thank you. This question is so personal for us. January 7th was devastating for our family, and made us question, am I really going to do this? Is our family going to do this? Because it's not just me here. It's my family. And we got a few weeks after the fire, and one of the calling to do this is to represent our rebuilding community. I'm certainly not somebody who thinks you have to go through an experience to lead on it, but losing your home in a wildfire is such a unique experience and such a all-inclusive, it affects every part of your life. And things that everybody mentioned, great things. Fire mitigation, anything we can do for that's evidence-based. Insurance stabilization, make fire-safe rebuilding affordable for Californians. The state has a real role in that. And then all of the other things that go along with it, mental health for children and families, that has to be a focus as well.
Thank you. Thank you for all those great answers. And it's true, there's, one of the many challenges that we all face is that there isn't enough of a playbook. And a lot of our elected officials, I think, we're kind of caught very flat-footed. So another area of legislation I'm working on right now, and I'd love to continue connecting with you all on that. All right, let's go next to a question from the Torrance Democratic Club that's specifically related to the Torrance refinery. And we have Bill Reynolds here to ask the question.
Bill Reynolds. Bill Reynolds with the Torrance Democratic Club. Candidates. The Torrance refinery, owned by PBF Energy, is one of only 2 refineries in California that use hydrofluoric acid, commonly known as HF or MHF. An accidental mass release of MHF was narrowly avoided by pure luck in the 2015 Torrance refinery explosion. This chemical poses a risk to hundreds or thousands of people in South Bay communities. Given that there are multiple commercially available alternatives to MHF, and that other elected representatives have failed to get enough support from their colleagues to pass real reform, what would you do to make progress in requiring the refinery's conversion from MHF, an exceptionally dangerous chemical?
We're starting with John.
Thank you. And this is something that I know is really near and dear to this community, so thank you for that question. We need to make sure that we're building coalitions with labor as well as our different groups across the Democratic caucus, because this is a political issue. This is not an issue of can we do it, it's an issue of when we will do it. And so we need people that are endorsed by labor, specifically like myself from the California State Council of Laborers, as well as many other individuals who work in these refineries who find these chemicals toxic themselves, right, and have already expressed the need to change it. And these alternatives are available. It's just that why aren't we doing it, right? And so we need to make sure that that coalition is strong and builds from the community up. That includes workers as well as individuals like yourself from the environmental community to bring forth these common sense solutions. Because like we saw just recently in El Segundo with that horrific fire that happened, thankfully there was no loss of life. That could have been mitigated. We need to make sure that the next disaster, just like we were talking about with the fire, does not occur by simple things that we can fix now.
Thank you so much for the question. I actually used to live in El Segundo on Grand Avenue, so I'm very familiar with the impact, the environmental concerns and impacts. So that's important. That work coordination, and certainly as a healthcare executive, and no stranger to the exposures and environmental injustice impacts as it relates to spillover and the need for cooperation. I feel fortunate to have had the example of collaborating to improve our environment, as I referenced earlier. I would imagine taking a similar firm but collaborative and transparent approach. We need to chart a path that includes all stakeholders at the table, including environmental leaders, the leadership from the refineries, to chart that path. And how do we do this in a balanced way that's thoughtful to the jobs that are located in the community, but that ensures that there are all protections in place, continued expansion protections to protect our community. For example, I would continue to support expanded quality, air quality monitoring in addition to other steps as well. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Thank you.
I believe that what's predictable is preventable. This is a disaster waiting to happen. We know that it could happen. And John is right. This is about who can build a big, broad coalition to bring along members from different political ideologies, different regions, to get something done. It's one of the things Ben actually did really well on the TV and film tax credit. Persuade Northern California that this wasn't just a Southern California issue. One of the reasons that I'm proud to be endorsed by great legislators. Speaker Pelosi endorsed me. Senator Boxer is the honorary chair of my campaign. Pete Buttigieg supported me. And one of the things I've learned from these leaders is how you build big, broad coalitions with people who may disagree with you on X or Y, but you work together on Z and A. And that's what I would look to do. I would look to take on the toughest fights, the biggest issues, and build big coalitions to actually make progress.
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I've been a practicing environmental attorney for the last 25 years and very active for the last 35 years. Running for this office and being an environmental champion is one of my main priorities. I can tell you this about the refineries. These are the two refineries that I know left in the state that still use hydrofluoric acid. We have a very easy alternative in sulfuric acid, and there are other alternatives as well we can use, and in fact, every other refinery in the state has done that. I believe even Chevron, just up the road in El Segundo, has already made that conversion. This is a conversion that costs some money. It is a conversion that takes some time, but it's a necessary conversion, and I think that my history as an environmental champion and advocate is something that allows me to uniquely go into businesses, such as refineries, as a business person myself, and say, look, at the end of the day, your bottom line is going to be better, your liability is going to be less, and your workers are going to be stronger and better protected if we do this. So this is something that we have to have happen. Last thing I would do is say that a big part of my practice is cleaning up toxics just over the hill in Wilmington, as well as doing a lot of underground storage tank remediation. So this is something I've worked on for 25 years, and I look forward to tackling it because we have to change it.
Look, this hasn't happened because of the workers' issues. Unionized workers who were involved. And Trump won in 2016 because our party lost workers in the middle of the country. He won in 2024 because working class people, even in California, voted for him as well in higher numbers than they did in 2016. And so we need to go back and make sure that as we talk about these critically important issues, I know as a physician that the closer you live to the Port of Long Beach, the higher your threat of coronary diseases. And we need to work on those issues, but we have to win elections and we have to bring working people along with us. I'm a coalition builder. It's the reason 22 out of the 26 electeds in Santa Monica are supporting me. Majority of the Malibu and the Borer Hills City Councils. People who've worked with me know that I bring people together to address these issues, and I'll do that on this as well.
We need to have the strongest clean air standards and the strongest clean water standards. And we need to protect workers and neighbors of the refineries. And to do that, as everyone said, we need to build coalitions. So I'm going to give you some examples where I've built coalitions. When I was fighting developers in my neighborhood, I ended up bringing them to the table and working with developers to make their work in my neighborhood safe for my neighbors. When my neighborhood needed the city of Los Angeles to enforce its short-term rental ordinance better, I teamed up with other neighborhood groups, but also with labor to make them do that. I know how to bring people to the table. We need to bring everybody to the table and get this done, because it's high time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I've actually got the final question here, and obviously, very good answers, thoughtful positions, some differences, but a lot of similarities in everyone's positions. Lots of impressive endorsements. I guess I'd like to ask if to the extent to which you've given some thought to what sort of elected official, what sort of senator you want to be. We've heard the positions you have on political issues, but I think just as important is the kind of office you're going to run. How are you going to hire staff? Your level of responsiveness to constituents. How do you balance the work that you have up in Sacramento versus the work in the district? Your family obligations, all of those kinds of things. Because at the end of the day, it's an incredibly challenging and physical experience. And just would love to hear the extent to which you can all give us a little bit of insight as to how you're going to approach the job as a senator.
Thank you for that question, Senator. It's apropos coming from you, and I say this with sincere admiration. The word that comes to my mind is collaboration, and those of you familiar with the community, I say this just to point out the illustration of I was the only Democrat on my council for much of my term. We still made progress on some key issues. So I think talking to people, especially at a time of divisiveness, when we want to make sure not to reject people, but to draw people to our values that underpin us as a party, that's the opportunity. So in question related to what would my leadership style, would be a continuation of who I am, which is a assertive leader, one that's committed to talking to people, recognizing the humanity in people, one that's interested intimately in solutions and moving things forward. As it relates to balancing staff, I think there's an opportunity to balance institutional knowledge with staff as well as bring in folks from other industries with new ideas. Related to your family question, which I take with an open heart as a father of four, lucky to be supported by a wonderful woman who believes in what we're doing. Thank you.
So when I was growing up, I had a very strong Jewish mother who told me, Brian, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you're supposed to use them in that ratio. And that always stuck with me. And I found that really listening to other people, what they're saying, and in some cases what they're not saying, to be one of the essentials of effective leadership. It is impossible for one person on their own to represent this big, sprawling, diverse community of 1 million people. You have to have a great team. I've always believed in great teams and in teamwork, in setting a high standard and in helping one another to reach that standard. I also believe that we need to form a council of local leaders across the district that will regularly provide input about what's happening on the ground. One of the big challenges in California is that our politics are so much about how much we're spending, how many bill signings we're doing, and less about results and outcomes. I want to hear from elected leaders, nonprofit leaders, other leaders about how things are actually going to get affected on the ground.
Yeah, I share all my colleagues' comments about working and building coalitions. I think we all know we have to do that. But no kidding aside, I've never met a problem I can't outwork. I'll be honest with you. And I'm the kind of person I don't sleep a lot. I raise kids, I own 2 businesses. I'm still playing a baseball league on Sundays, and I play bass and guitar in a band called The Potential Suitors. Go ahead and look that up, everybody. We tour and release albums. The way I've approached this campaign, let's put it this way, is rather than get a new lease on my car, I just bought it out, and I think I've put about 10,000 miles on it since it started. I drive up and down this district, as a lot of you know. No coffee that I throw is too small, no event is too big, and no far reach of this big district is enough for me to get to. I honestly think, and it's not a flippant way to say it, is just hard work and a ton of it. One of my sons is going to college, the other one will be going to college soon. I won't have to work in my businesses anymore, I'll be a full-time senator. I'm just gonna outwork this thing. The last thing I'm interested in doing, I gotta ask you about it, I think 2 district offices could maybe help if we had funding for it. I'd like to add a 2nd district office, if at all possible, but I gotta look into that.
Good luck doing it with office.
I knew you guys were going to say about both. I see Sam laughing too.
Well, thank you. This is, I know that the senator from this district is not going to go up to Sacramento and change the world. We're one out of 120 legislators. And it's not about changing the world, it's about solving people's problems. And it starts with the constituents. So it starts with listening to the different neighborhoods, to the different councils, to the different school boards. It's where I think my strength is going to be, because I've worked in so many different local community organizations. I know how communities work and where to go find the people who speak for their communities and can show us the problem and work together to solve them. In our very first forum, 6 months ago at the Malibu Dem Club, I remember they asked, it was a question about how are you going to stand up to the Trump administration? Something like that. And I said then and what I said now, it's not about standing up to them, it's about representing your constituents and solving the problems. And sometimes it makes sense to have a press conference, usually it doesn't. Usually it makes sense to work with local leaders to solve problems.
So I haven't been able to get a word in edgewise in my family for 20 years, so I'm a really good listener. Actually, I'm just kidding. But I am a great listener. And I want to be somebody who hears the concerns of the district. So I'm going to be out here, everywhere around the district, listening to people, and I'm going to be accessible. The other thing is, I'm always going to tell the truth. I'm always going to be frank. So you'll know where I'm coming from and what I plan to do. I'm not attached to my own ideas. If you have great ideas, bring it on. I'm going to hire a staff with experience and diversity to help me navigate what I need to navigate. And I'm going to listen to everybody. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to steal Sam, so, I hope you're ready. So there you go, first and foremost. But when I was first elected, it was the height of COVID, and I remember getting an email at 12 o'clock at night because I'm an inbox zero person, and I don't go to bed until I've answered everything. I know it's crazy.
Good luck.
Thank you. Well, trust me, people can tell me good luck, but I still do it for this long now. But someone said, City Hall's not open and no one's working for us. And I said, well, what happens if I meet you in Plummer Park, I'll set up a card table, I'll bring some donuts, and we can talk about your issue. And now for 51 months in a row, ever since I've been elected, once a Saturday, every month, I sit in a park and I hear from my constituents directly. I plan to hold a town hall in every community within the first 100 days, and I know my mother will kill me, my partner will kill me, and my dog Winnie, she'll be fine. But at the end of the day, you are what matters most. I've worked my ass off, apologies, I'm gonna swear, because you are the reason why we get up there, and you're the reason why we should be working all the time, because you need help right now, and we're here to help you.
All right, well that gets us to our final statements. Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to start with Eric this time and come down all the way to Brian. So you'll have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Perfect. Thank you. What a great afternoon again. Thank you to my colleagues. It's been wonderful to get to know them through the experience, and for all of you. Obviously, we have challenges in front of us. We've touched on it much of the afternoon as well. We've had a lot of good ideas and intentions. But that's just not enough. We need a leader who's been able to deliver on outcomes and results, and I'm very proud of the things we've done collectively together, and I say that with all sincerity, looking across the room, seeing people that have helped me advance things for our environment, for our public safety, for our schools across this whole community. That needs to continue on, needs to be done broadly. I've been tried by crisis when the coronavirus pandemic hit, was able to continue the services of our community during that difficult time. When the Portuguese Bend landslides hit our community, led the response and the local emergency ordinance creation, as well as collaborating with our partners across multiple layers of government to try to find solutions, which still remain. When we saw opportunity to improve our fire remediation and protection, we didn't wait for a response or for somebody to come from the outside. We moved forward. With that said, there's real challenges in front of us. Healthcare costs, coastline needs protection, climate change. These aren't abstract policy debates. These are real issues that affect all of us. We need to come together. I have a proven track record of bringing people together. I'm supported by dozens of local leaders across the South Bay. Paul Sayo, Assam Sheikh, Neil Muhammad, Paige, and Tracy Miller-Zarnicki, as well as some of, in my opinion, our best progressive leaders of our time, Anthony Rendon, John Chang, and many, many others, IBW 40, and the Deputy District Attorneys of Los Angeles as well. As the Air State Senator, I will work to bring people together, make sure we get better health care, make sure we continue to invest in public education in the right way so that our kids can have a brighter future. Thank you.
I started with my grandmother in Ripon, Wisconsin, handing out food baskets at the Ripon Senior Center when I was 8 years old, and I didn't know what that mission of public service would bring me to. Led me to West Hollywood, where I was an intern, and then I stopped wanting to finish my PhD. I finished it. My mother said she'd kill me because I discovered public service and what it meant to actually help change people's lives. When I met someone named Suzanne who was terrified to get the vaccine, and I went to her house and made sure a mobile clinic was able to go there and get her vaccinated without ever knowing her, that's the type of legislator I am. I'm not someone that's in it for the bells and whistles. I'm in it for all of you. That's exactly where I come from and who I am, and that's delivering our results. Minimum wage, more affordable housing, protecting our environment, making sure our furry friends and animals, because West Hollywood loves their animals, as I know so many of us do, are protected, but our nature, our wildlife, our conservancy are protected. But planning for the future, and the future doesn't look like someone like me. Someone that needs to make sure that they no longer have to know the amount in their bank account because they are struggling to get by. How much rent is, the continued cost for insurance and healthcare, or if I ever wanted to start a family, the cost that would even occur for me being an LGBTQ individual. I have proven results on all these issues, but I want to make sure I'm going up to Sacramento to represent this district in the way that it deserves. Someone that can continue the great legacy of the senator that comes before us, but someone with bold ideas as well as courageous solutions. And that's not being afraid to say the hard things, like making sure corporations and billionaires are held accountable, but also reinvesting those issues back into our workers, our communities, protecting our environment. We have a budgetary problem up in Sacramento, but the political problem is we are not holding those that can pay for it accountable. And that's actually costing your pocketbooks more every day. And we need to make sure that we're going up to Sacramento with a coalition and solutions-driven mind, and I'm here to do that for you, and I'm looking forward to talking to you all more outside.
When you boil it all down, this race is about one thing. It's about whether Californians can count on their state government to make their lives better, safer, and more affordable, or whether we keep letting families slide into crisis. I'm running because I believe the government should deliver for people, and because I know how to make it do that. I've been fighting for people who've been ignored my whole life, from patients dying of AIDS while the government looked the other way, to couples whose basic rights in their relationship were denied, to my neighbors who just wanted to feel safe in their own homes. And I didn't win any fights by giving speeches. I won them by bringing people together, by listening, by building coalition, and by doing the hard, unglamorous work that actually moves policy forward. And that's what Sacramento needs right now. Families need stability, immigrants need protection, working people need a government that understands the pressures they're under every single day. California needs to build housing that everyone can afford, to invest in opportunities that reach everyone, and to build strong communities so that the next generation has something to inherit. I have concrete plans to address all of that, to accelerate the production of housing that people can afford, to bring on our safe, clean, green, affordable energy future, to invest in the job training programs that prepare people for the jobs we need so that every Californian has access to opportunity and can provide for their family and make their lives better. And I have the experience to turn those plans into action, and that's why I'm endorsed by the elected leaders who know my work best. Los Angeles City Council member Nitya Raman and Assembly member Rick Chavez-Sabor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben, for emceeing this, and thank you to my fellow candidates for participating in this, one of several great forums that we've had together with a lot of great ideas. Look, this district, there's a lot of difficult times for so many people who live in this district. Whether it's affordability, whether it's the attacks from the Trump administration by ICE, by anti-union organization, by basically the corporatization of every industry in this country that's going to be attacking working Californians throughout California. And I've had the privilege to serve during difficult times. I was president of the Santa Monica Democratic Club when Trump first got elected in 2016, and our coalition was really, shocked. And I was able to help lead with the community, an organization forward to really find our voice as a community in progressive Santa Monica. I was president of the LA County Medical Association when we were attacked by COVID, and I remember calling foreign countries and in Eastern Europe looking for PPE so that people in our district could go to their healthcare providers during a time of so much uncertainty. I was, the fires, huge threat, huge upheaval for our family. But our family, as we got through that first few weeks, we were confident that our community come together and really lead forward, go forward, rebuild our houses, rebuild our schools, support the workers. And we're doing our best to work together to do that. And I know that this community, that this district can work together to overcome every challenge. In January, we felt that as a family. And I hope to take that voice and that experience up to Sacramento.
Well, first of all, Ben, thank you for doing this, and you're definitely leaving some big shoes to fill up there in Sacramento. You may not be a zero email box guy, but I've never met an elected official who returns a text so fast. So I'm going to try and emulate him on that as well. He's an extremely responsive guy, and I've always appreciated that. Look, this is a complicated district, folks. It's the best district in the state, and I don't just say it because I'm running for it, but in more ways than one, and it has this coast from Malibu to Palos Verdes, and I love to protect it, and I'm excited about that. But it's also extremely diverse in terms of economics, in terms of businesses, in terms of interests, and whoever's going up there has to be able to work with all those coalitions. We talked about that a lot today. One of the things I'm very, very proud of in this campaign is I'm endorsed by more small business owners and small business organizations than I can count. It's important. I'm endorsed by a lot of environmental leaders and organizations such as the LA Coastal Protection Coalition. On top of that, I have union endorsements, both from IBEW, as I talked about, and also the single largest law enforcement organization, PORAC, in the state of California. That's 950 different law enforcement associations and over 87,000 law enforcement officials, which is extremely big to me, and I'm extremely proud of it. My point is, when most people are running, you don't necessarily hear a coalition like that. It's almost a little bit of a strange coalition, right? So people in environment are supporting you, people in business are supporting you, people in labor are supporting you, and people in law enforcement are supporting you. I'm extremely proud of that record. I'm extremely proud of what we put together so far in this campaign. I think it'll suit the district well. I think it'll suit you all well. I think it also goes to who I am in terms of always having an open door and always listening. There are no bad ideas. There are no bad constituencies. There should be no vilification of anybody, no matter what they stand for. I'll always have that open door, I'll always listen, and I'm just really excited to keep this campaign going, and I'm really thankful for everybody up here. A lot of great candidates, and I'm just excited to be here. Thanks.
Well, going last, I think of the old joke about everything has been said, but not everyone has said it. I think we're at that point in the afternoon, but I want to say something that I think is really important. We are at risk right now of this generation of young people, our kids, our grandkids, becoming the first ever generation of Californians to be worse off than their parents. That has never happened before in the history of our state. That is the opposite of the California dream. This election is not about us, the candidates. It's about all of you. It's about these communities. It's about what kind of future the next generation will inherit. We're facing these unique challenges of Donald Trump weaponizing the federal government against us. And because of that, and because of our own failures to lead, because of our own willingness to kind of kick the can down the road, we are left with big, festering challenges. I am saying the same 4 things to every group. That's one of the advantages of not being an elected official yet, is I say the same message to every group. Number 1, we have got to make it easier and more affordable to live here. We've got to make it easier and more affordable for businesses to grow and thrive here, and to build the infrastructure we need to prepare for the future. Number 2, we've got to deal with our challenges around crime and homelessness. Not go back to mass incarceration, but I was proud to support Nathan Hochman for LA County DA, proud to support Prop 36, because I thought that struck the right balance in the middle, because if people don't feel safe, nothing else matters. Number 3, we've got to focus on our challenges of the future. Stop refighting all the battles of the past. Stop, getting drowned in the culture wars. Start thinking about how do these disruptive new technologies, AI, automation, quantum, how are they going to affect the world that our kids are going to grow up in? How are we going to deal with ever-increasing, more dangerous climate-driven events? And finally, I want to take on hate and division. I want to take on a politics of I'm right and you're evil, and get back to a politics of bringing people together to get results. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, how about a big round of applause for that? Excellent group of folks who stepped up. It's hard to do what they're doing. They're taking time away from their families and their careers to put themselves forward and to offer us with a really robust choice. And I just encourage everybody over the course of the next few months to get to know these people well and ask them lots of questions and then get behind someone at the ballot box beforehand. So we are going out to the meditation garden. There's going to be, but it's not going to be that meditative because I'm sure some of you has a lot of tough questions. But we're going to have a little bit of brief in the back. And each of them has been given a table. They're all the same size.
No, one is a little in.
I'll get the small one. But please do take the opportunity to come say hi, introduce yourself, ask folks questions. Try not to monopolize their time because I know there's a lot of people who are going to want to talk to each of them. We're also going to have tables from all of the partner organizations that have been running this wonderful hearing.
Let's hear it for them.
Today. So let's hear it for our wonderful questions. So thank you for bringing your questions. Thank you for confronting our candidates on a number of really important issues. So we've got Indivisible South Bay, Los Angeles, Palos Verdes Democrats, Beach Cities Democrats, the Torrance Democratic Club. They will all have tables as well. So it's an opportunity for you to get to chat with everybody and connect. I want to thank the church, this beautiful church, for hosting us today. Really, really appreciate it. I want to thank the wonderful Judy Dow, who's been such a great leader down here for so long. And just thank you all for spending an afternoon, a Sunday afternoon with us, debating and hearing and discussing these difficult issues. Every one of these candidates, I think, points out some of the massive challenges that we have. And as I sit here and listening to all of you, I think about how much progress we've made and how vexing so many of these challenges continue to be. I mean, insurance among so many. How do we deal with the massive risks that we have with an imploding market and the need for pro-consumer policies. These are all the things that we're all grappling with right now on so many different levels. So looking forward to a great discussion. Thank you for being a part of this wonderful day, and let's all go out and chat about it. Thank you.